Thank you, Phil. I just want to take a quick moment and introduce our accompanist for this morning's service. Phil Daniels is an accomplished pianist and vocalist, and he's worked in churches, schools, and opera companies across the San Diego area. And he currently works at the Bishop's School in La Jolla, and had the opportunity to rehearse with our women's choir this past week so that he can accompany them this morning. We are delighted to have Phil join us this morning, and we look forward to hearing him play throughout the service. Welcome, Phil. And we also have a guest worship leader with us this morning. Reverend Dr. Kikanza Nuri-Robins was ordained in the Presbyterian faith tradition, and then, as so many of us do, found her way to Unitarian Universalism. And she is a member of our UU Ministers Association. Reverend Kristen and I met Kikanza at a UU clergy retreat this past fall, and we invited her to come and be with us this weekend, and she led the workshop that many of us participated in yesterday. She is an organizational development consultant, and she has been an advocate for justice, equity, and inclusion for over 40 years, serving mission-driven organizations across the country. She's written many articles and 6 books, including Cultural Proficiency and Fish Out of Water. She lives in Los Angeles, where she serves on the bioethics committee of the UCLA Medical Center and serves on boards of several social service organizations. She started out thinking that she would change the world. And now she knows that she is most effective making a difference wherever in the world she finds herself, one conversation at a time. Let's welcome to our pulpit the Reverend Kikanza Nuri-Robins.
Good morning. It is a great pleasure to be with you this morning, and I have been on the campus over the weekend and trying to see what was familiar and what was not. As a consultant, I've worked for the hospital and other places nearby, and it was here on this campus that I made the decision to return to school yet one more time and go to Starr King to get my certificate in UU studies. And so this place has significant memories and importance to me in my journey. So I am delighted to be here this morning. We're talking about stories this morning, and as we light the chalice, I invite you to think about listening to stories as an act of love. How is it that you say to someone, I hear you, I love you, I may not understand whatever it is you're saying, but I love you through your listening?
Con espíritu de reverencia, reconocemos que nos juntamos en la tierra de los Kumeyaay. Al encender esta vela, reafirmamos nuestro compromiso de cultivar relaciones significativas con los habitantes de esta tierra y de trabajar juntos por la justicia y la equidad. In a spirit of reverence, we acknowledge that we gather on the land of the Kumeyaay. As we light this candle, we affirm our commitment to cultivate meaningful relationships with the people of this land and to work together for justice and equity.
Good morning. My name is Les Vivian. My pronouns are he and him, and I am proud to serve as a member of your Board of Trustees. Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church of San Diego, where we worship each Sunday in South Bay, in Hillcrest, and online. Our mission is to create community, nurture spiritual growth, and act on our values to heal the world. If you are visiting and I want to extend a special welcome and invite you to fill out the visitor form in your order of service, and you can return it to the welcome table on your way out. If you're joining us online, you can also fill out the visitor form online. And if you have been coming here for a while and starting to feel that this is your spiritual home, and you are considering becoming part of this beloved community, and if you would like to explore what it means to become a member or have questions about the membership process, you are invited to meet with Marcia Biller right here after the service in the front of the meeting house.
You're a little taller than me, Les. Welcome to this space. Bring all of who you are and all the beauty of languages, cultures, and skin tones that come together in your uniqueness. You are welcome here. In all of the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome here. In the beauty that is whom you love and how you love, you are welcome here. In all the ways you live, move, and experience your embodied self. All of the religious and ethical traditions that inform your spiritual life, you are welcome here. Together, may we live into our shared values with love at the center. It is good to be together.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me singing our church hymn, followed by the church aspiration.
May love be the spirit of this church. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Que el amor sea la doctrina de esta iglesia, la búsqueda de la verdad su sacramento y el servicio su oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad con libertad y ayudarnos mutuamente en comunidad. A eso aspiramos. Friends, we come together this morning in joy to bless and dedicate 2 children who are part of this First UU community. Each time a child is welcomed into our lives is a miracle, an opportunity to recognize the power of love, a day to give thanks for the beauty of the earth, to recognize our interdependence with all life. Our children born with unique gifts are continuously learning and growing, unfolding in their wholeness with the support and care of the people in their lives. There is no greater responsibility than that of caring for and nurturing a child. So this morning is a special day for this family and for this community.
We invite up now Kyle and Valeria and their children, Vida and Athena, and Kyle's parents, Richard and Deborah.
Or this one? Okay. There we go. Valeria, what name have you given this child?
Athena Monteiro Hanson.
Athena Montero Hanson. With this water, an ancient symbol of life, old, huh? I bless you. May your life overflow with love. May it be blessed by joy. May you feel cared for and supported when you need it most. Kyle, what name have you given this child?
Vida Montero Hanson.
Vida Montero Hanson. May this water, with this water, an ancient symbol of life, I bless you. May your life overflow with love. May it be blessed with joy. May you feel cared for and supported whenever you need it. Valeria and Kyle, is there a wish that you would like to express for these beautiful children?
So, good morning. I will read so I don't cry. Is it possible to ask anything else to an immaculate beings like you? I think you already have all the blessings. It's just to look at your smile and see them. I can just hope life go easy and never take them away from you. I wish that you keep pouring around you all the beauty you came here to bring. That your light be able to bright full shine and your journey in this earth be no less than fabulous. I love you more than anything else and for eternity. Nothing and no one will ever change that.
I'll see you. That would be great.
The responsibility for raising our children is one that belongs to all of us. For the parents who are present day and night, that responsibility is greatest. So I ask you now as the parents, the responses we will if you agree. Will you promise to care for and nurture your children? Will you raise them to love justice and to live with compassion? Will you extend to your children kindness and courage? And will you encourage them to live their dreams? Now I invite the members and friends of the First UU Church of San Diego to rise and embody your spirit. In our faith tradition, we do not dedicate our children to the church, but we dedicate the church to our children. So I ask you, the members and friends of the First UU Church of San Diego, will you commit to being a loving and supportive spiritual community for these children and for their families, where we can learn and grow with one another and discover how to live our deepest shared values? Beautiful. The congregation may be seated.
And now we present each child with a flower. a symbol of our commitment to provide nurture and care. Athena and Vida, may you know beauty. May everywhere you go, may you be blessed, may everywhere you go be blessed by your presence. May you unfold in all your wholeness.
It is such a joy to be on this journey together. We're so grateful you're part of this community. So you can be seated. I now want to invite if we have any, please. I'd like to invite up if we have any children, youth, young at heart who'd like to help with our children's affirmation this morning before we head out to our classes. I see a few of you coming this way. Thanks so much for your help. Ooh, good morning. Good morning, friends. All right. We are Unitarian Universalists, a people of open minds, loving hearts, and welcoming hands. Somos unitarios universalistas, personas de mentes abiertas, corazones amorosos, y manos que dan la bienvenida. I now invite you to join your leaders out on the patio for your classes.
Kikanza wanted to make sure that we also fully welcomed the grandparents, Kyle and Deborah, Richard and Deborah, parents of Kyle, who drove here from Illinois in 3 days to be present. And they stayed friends. Such joy, such joy. Lay ministers are available after the service to offer a listening presence. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share, you can do that. And Melinda Holbein is our lay minister this morning. She's wearing the yellow scarf. Also, you'll notice over here to my left, your right, we have a trencher with some sand and some candles. At any time during the service, you can get up and light a candle as a representation of whatever it is that you might be holding in your heart this morning. Do we have someone giving a tour today? All right, Laura Ball will be our tour guide this morning. This is an opportunity after worship to kind of look behind the stage and all that, behind the chancel, and see some of the gems of this beautiful campus. So Laura will meet you right up here after the postlude and take you on a magical tour of our beautiful campus. When you go into Bard Hall for coffee hour after the worship service, you will notice some sheets of paper on the walls with dates on them and some Post-it notes with memories and story fragments written there. I invite you to feel free to add your own story or memory to those sheets. I encourage you to write legibly, and it's funny when people sign things, and so don't do that, right? So we can read it. And if you would include your name so that we can follow up for clarification or to hear more of the story, that would be great. So we invite you to continue adding your story to those stories, and you'll be hearing more about that in a bit from me and from Reverend Kikanza. One of the ways that we live our values is by sharing our offering with local organizations that work for justice. In April and May, our generosity offering goes to GRID Alternatives San Diego. GRID Alternatives bridges the solar divide by providing no-cost to very low-cost solar panels and batteries for low-income families. Sometimes it's expensive to be green, so this is a wonderful opportunity to make that resource available to folks. They also offer hands-on installation experience for job seekers and community volunteers. You can donate by cash or check in the boxes at the back of the meeting house, or you can text to the number that will appear on your screen, 73256, or you can scan the QR code, and you can always go to our website, firstusandiego.org. Thank you for your generosity. The morning offering will now be joyfully given and gratefully received.
We pause at this time in our service to honor the life and memory of Susan Oliver Miller. Susan was a beloved long-term member of the church. She served on staff as a religious education assistant for 10 years in the 90s. She was one of the original lay ministers, sharing her care and compassion with so many people in this community over the years. She was deeply devoted to her family and to her friends. She loved being part of her women's group and playing mahjong. Susan was kind and loving and had a wonderful sense of humor. On Saturday, April 25th, surrounded by the love of her family and the support of hospice, Susan died. We are holding all those who are grieving in our hearts, especially her family who is with us in the front row today. We'll have an ability to honor and more fully celebrate Susan's life in a celebration of life on August 1st. I invite up now her daughter, Sarah, who will help me with the candles. We light this candle in Susan's honor and memory. To mark the weightiness of her loss, we extinguish the flame of our chalice, the symbol of our gathered community, because our company has been diminished by her loss. Yet the light of this community continues, and Susan's spirit lives on in the many among us who love her and will remember her. So from her candle, we relight our chalice. That's okay. This community of memory and hope shines on, and Susan lives among us in the heart's long memory. In mystery we are born, in mystery we live, and in mystery we die.
When someone dies, whether we know them or not, we remember. We remember those whom we have loved who have died. We remember those who are lingering on the threshold between life and death. We remember that we too have a limited time on this plane. And so at this point in the service, we come together to remember those whom we've loved who passed on, and to remember that it is in community that we can share both joys and sorrows. And so I invite you to think, reflect on those secret prayers, those deep longings that are too dear to speak aloud, to remember those who are traveling, those who are waiting for someone to come home, those who know they will never get home, those who are in transition, those who are fighting transition, those who are longing for something more, those who are wishing for just a little bit less. And so in our silence, lift up the names, lift up the prayers, lift up the blessings, lift up the gratitudes that reflect your life and the life of this community. May it be so. Blessed be.
You know, this morning's service is one of those times when the whole is represented in this moment, this hour together, where we have beautiful music and the honoring of the end of a life of a beloved longtime member of this community, and the welcoming of 2 babies who are just joining this community, all in 1 hour together. So I'm very moved by all of that happening today. And another thing that I just so especially love about this community is that we find ways to allow people to share their gifts. So you might have noticed Leora up here singing with the women's choir, and you may have also noticed her in the office doing what she does as our office administrator. And if you've ever looked at an order of service or watched the slides during worship, you'll know that is behind all that. Maybe she turned the mic off because she wanted me to stop talking about her. But when she came to us, she mentioned that she, used to sing a bit in college. Actually, very modest. She studied quite a bit in college, and it took a bit of coaxing. But now she is getting a chance to share her gifts. And I don't know of many workplaces where you get to do that. So I just want to lift up that is something I especially love about you, that you make space for people to share all of who they are. Back in the 90s, when I was in graduate school for social work, I learned about narrative therapy. It was something that we studied. And as the name suggests, it acknowledges that stories have power, that they help us make sense of the world around us, the natural world. Think about, the idea of a powerful God racing his chariot across the sky as a way to understand the rising and setting of the sun. And we have stories about ourselves and each other. Our families of origin have stories about us. And one of the great gifts of my own therapy, you're encouraged when you go to school to become a therapist to have had that experience yourself. And one of the great gifts for me was coming to understand that there can be multiple stories, and we are not obligated to be defined by an old story that no longer fits us, that no longer fits who we are now and who we want to be. So yesterday, Saturday afternoon, 55 of us gathered in Bard Hall to begin or to continue telling and hearing your new story. Now, you and I have been together on this journey for about 4 years now, and the story that felt most alive and most compelling when I arrived here is not the story that is emerging now. Reverend Kikanza led us yesterday in a process that made space for that new story to emerge. And if you weren't able to be with us, I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we spent our time together. First, we arranged ourselves in a large circle around the whole room by our arrival date in the congregation. Think about, getting on the airplane at Southwest and you have to find, A36. No, I'm A34. So there was that kind of cacophony of people arranging themselves by date. We ranged from 1952, arriving in 1952, to just 4 months ago in 2026, and many in between. So we first arranged ourselves in that large circle by arrival date. And then by decade, people were invited to come into an inner circle and have what we lovingly call the fishbowl experience. I say lovingly, imagine being in a fishbowl and having everyone watch you have your experience. But they were invited to share their stories, and those in the larger circle bore witness to that storytelling. People shared their personal stories of arrival, moments that stood out for them. And we were invited to listen and to hold those stories. And as those stories emerged of people's arrival and things that stood out for them, we were invited to take the infamous Post-it note and write down something that we wanted to be sure was part of that larger story of the congregation, and place it on the correct part of what will be a timeline by decade. So if you remembered something that happened in the 70s, you were invited to write that down and put it up on the sheet of paper labeled 1970s. And so by the end of the day, we had quite a collection of Post-its. And I invite you to continue sharing those stories, jotting things down, and as I asked, make it so we can read it. And if you're willing to put your name so that we could follow up and find out more, that would be wonderful. Liz Jones, our archivist, was not able to be present, but I interviewed her and recorded her story, so that will be part of this storytelling. And I will be offering an online version of this and also holding a similar circle of history at the South Bay campus on May 17th during our worship time there. So the storytelling continues, and together we are letting this new story emerge and see what we notice about it, what it tells us about ourselves, about where we have been. What stood out for me as I have reflected on it in the hours since then was that the story that people most wanted to tell was the moment they discovered that this is my place and these are my people. And that was very powerful to hold. So there's room for more storytelling, and I look forward to continuing to hear that from you and with you, and to bear witness to that new story that is emerging, a story of resilience and creativity and continuing.
I have spent my career listening to stories. As a consultant, I hear the stories of managers and supervisors complaining about their employees, and then the employees complaining about their managers, and all the woe of having to work in this place, which really should be better. As a chaplain, I have listened to the stories of people who are in pain, people who are responsible for the people who are in pain, people who don't feel that they are getting the care that they need, people who are sitting at the bedside of someone who needs their help that they cannot give. As a death doula, I work with families and listen to their stories of goodbye and lament and regret and gratitude. As a spiritual director, I listen to the stories of people discovering that yes, they are on a spiritual journey, and that no, it is not always fun. And like, whoa, look at that. That certainly was unexpected. Everyone has stories. Most don't know what to do with them because they don't have enough people to listen to their stories. So when you look on Facebook and TikTok and all the other social media, there are people sharing their stories, and I read them and I say, oh my gosh, why did they say that? Do they know that everybody is reading that stuff? People are telling their stories everywhere. And I wonder sometimes, are they listening? Is anyone listening to the stories? It's important because when people are telling their stories over and over and over again, what they're saying is, I'm here. Listen to me. Recognize me. I matter. I make a difference. See me, hear me. Because you do matter. You absolutely do matter, and so do your stories. What also matters is how you tell your story and when you tell your story. Who listens to your story? Do you discern, is this the right person to hear this particular story? There's something about my face, and when I was younger and riding public transportation, I would sit on the bus stop, and strangers would tell me stuff I couldn't imagine saying aloud to anyone. And maybe it was because I was a stranger, and maybe because, who doesn't want to talk to this face? But it's important to pay attention. When you're feeling like no one is listening to me, it's probably because they're not. And you've chosen the wrong audience to listen to your story. I had a stroke last summer, and so my story continues in my recovery. And in those early months, it was a story of anger and depression and having to tell you what exactly happened. And I ran out of people to listen quite early. I was rather surprised. But I realized that some people just don't have the capacity to hear what they consider to be bad news. And so you need to pick your audiences carefully. You need to pick the people who can listen to this particular part of your story in this particular moment. I remember calling my mother once, and she said to me, "Kikanza, I can hear in your voice that you really have something to say, that something is really bothering you today. And I just want you to know I can't hear it." One thing I could count on from my mother was telling me exactly how she felt in that moment. And so although it didn't feel good to hear that, it was a clear, truthful message, and I had to go talk to somebody else. The icons that represent your story are also important. So think more globally about the controversy of statues that represent certain points in history. And do we take this statue down? Do we put another statue up? Why is that particular statue there? Why are we commemorating that particular thing? But the statues represent the stories of a particular group of people. We think about the school curriculum and the controversies about, well, you can't teach that. Well, that's not real history. History is written by the winners. And so when other people want to add their voices to the story, they have to remember if you didn't win in that particular part of the story, then there's going to be resistance to hear it. And so we write our own stories and we publish our own books. And so I think about the decolonization of museums. So museums are where we hold artifacts of people that represent their history, their culture, their stories. And yet, museums have been places where they have housed the stolen icons and artifacts of peoples and their stories and retold the stories from the perspective of the colonizers instead of from the perspective of the people whose stories they represent. Everyone has stories. When you think about the sacred stories that are represented in scriptures of many different spiritual traditions, we have to remind ourselves they're our sacred stories. They just have myths, but we have sacred stories. All of those stories represent history and culture and values and the norms of a particular people. So stories are important. They're important, and what matters most is the meaning that you make from those stories. Les Brown said that you can't see the story if you're in the frame. You can't see the picture if you're in the frame. And so you've got to remember that the story as you tell it is going to be perceived differently and received differently, and we have to accept that as part of the process. So you go to therapy to make meaning of your story. In mediation, we tell stories to hear, how did you experience it? How did you experience it? Well, is there a place where those experiences overlapped? When there's conflict, we hear the stories to eke out, what are the issues here? I know you're demanding for this, but what is it that you really want? What is really important? And it's usually only discovered as we listen to the whole story. In decision making, we have to hear the story. I know you want to go to that restaurant again. Help me understand what it is about that restaurant that's appealing, because we've all agreed that the food is at best mediocre. So what is it? Hear the story and you often get the lesson. Hear the story and you'll often hear the truth that is most important for you. So what matters is also the way that you honor the stories. I'm seeing someone holding their hand to the air. Are you not hearing me well enough? Okay. If I tell you a story, and part of my story offends you, or part of my story conflicts with the way you would tell that story, disagreement doesn't mean that you dishonor my story. Disagreement doesn't mean that my story means less or has less value than your story. Disagreement means that we are looking at the same thing and telling different stories about it. My older brother and I were having a conversation, and we didn't agree on the outcome of a particular situation. So he always wants to prove that he knows stuff that I don't know, which is hard to do. And so he says, well, the story that I'm telling myself is that if you needed blah, 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 you would have told me. So I can play that game. The story I'm telling myself is that if you suspected that I needed something, you would have read my mind. That was the end of that conversation. It's important to give space to tell the stories, and sometimes giving space means you just hold the vessel for the person to share their stories. You don't always have to comment. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to redirect it. Just hold the vessel. Don't be the vessel. Don't let them pour all their stuff into you and then walk away and leave you with it. Hold the vessel. You can leave the vessel in the space and both of you walk away. I hope that's not my phone. What you want to do is listen to the story, listen for the truth that it holds for you, listen for the lesson, take the lesson, leave the story. You want to listen to understand, not to judge. You want to listen as a way of comfort, as a way of saying, I love you and I'm listening to you, not to fix it, just to hold it in that moment. You want to listen to learn about yourself and ask yourself, why am I reacting so strongly? Or why am I not reacting at all to the story? What does your story say about me? So I encourage you to keep telling your stories. As Reverend Justine said, our stories change over time. The story of my recovery from my stroke has changed. There's always been a thread of gratitude, but the lamentation is gone, and now I'm beginning to see some progress and some improvement, and I'm also beginning to accept the things that I'll never be able to do again. So you keep telling your stories, watch the timing, make sure that you don't drop a story bomb at the family table during Thanksgiving dinner. You want to choose the audience that's best for hearing your story in this particular moment. And you want to be sure that you frame your story so that people know, why now are you telling me this? Why me are you telling me this? And why is this important to you and to me in our process, in our relationship? Not, why do they need to hear it? They need to hear my story. No, they probably don't. They really don't want to. They don't want to hear it, but they'll listen because they love you. But why do you need to say it now? And sometimes the very key to your story, if you wrote just a one-sentence summary of your story, like in the TV guide, I was hurt. No one saw my pain. I didn't feel like anyone cared about me. See, and the truth is that no one may have cared about you in that moment, in that time. And that's important for you to understand. Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody doesn't love me. Sometimes I wonder why, but I recognize that they don't. And so we have to accept the truth of our own story, the truths of our own story. Some people are so wrapped up in their own pain. There's no room for yours, and we have to accept that as well. Church is a place that we come to be seen, to be heard, to be comforted. And churches are very, very, very messy spaces. There is a church for everyone, but not every church is for everyone. And so you have to find out, is this the right place for me? And if this is your church, may you find the space and the audience for telling your story. And may you make space to hear the stories of those around you. Blessed be my friends. Continue telling your stories. You are now a part of mine.
Now please rise in warrior spirit. And join me in singing hymn 131.
This service is over, and our service to the world, to one another, to ourselves continues. So go now, my friends, go telling your stories and making the space and the time to hold the stories of others. Go in peace.